Hey, I'm Tony Wiseau.
And I'm Greg Sestero, and you're watching The Movie Void.
Yeah, enjoy it.
So, I just got back from seeing The Disaster Artist, finally, after all this time of anticipation, and it was really exactly like I expected. A wonderful movie, maybe even the best movie of the year I've seen so far. It is generally a love letter to dreamers, people who have big plans, big visions in their head. They will feel very inspired by this film. It gives you the message: if you're dreaming something, if you want something big in your life, don't just sit there. Go out there and do it. No matter if you fail or if you succeed, you follow that dream, you follow that vision that you have in your head, just like Tommy and Greg did back in the day. The film generally is really totally focused on Greg Sesteros and Tommy Wiseau's relationship. And it works really well. Like, Dave Franco and James Franco have that brotherly chemistry going on, and then make that best friendship feeling between Tommy and Greg really happen. You really feel it. You really see the intensity between all the things the two of them had to go through. But since the focus is so heavy on our two main characters, Greg and Tommy, a lot of the side characters aren't really that focused on as they were in the book. I don't want to compare the book and the film in terms of quality, because that's just something you don't do. Only stupid people compare books and film to the quality. There are a lot of little side stories, little details in the book that the film doesn't even scratch the surface upon. Especially like minor dialogue, it's not even in there. Like, if you know the show, my favorite part with Tommy calling Greg saying, "I eat oranges in bed," that's not in it at all.
I eat oranges in bed now. Feels so good. You should try it sometime with your French girl.
But that's not really what's bothering me here that much. The thing is, I would have loved to see something more about people in the crew. For example, Juliette Danielle's role in the room. The problems she had doing the love scene with Tommy, which the book really takes a good focus upon. How embarrassed she was showing the room to her friends and family, and what kind of a good trooper she was when everything got going with the room. How she stood behind the project only to be put into this focus of this terribly bad movie. Doesn't really get shown in the movie, like, at all. Who else, like, gets away in this movie so well without being portrayed as the asshole that he actually truly is, was Sandy Schleer. Seth Rogen plays Sandy Schleer in this movie, and he makes Sandy Schleer look out to be this good guy who was respecting Tommy's vision throughout the entire film, who didn't really agree on anything that Tommy wanted, but who played along and just did his job. That is not who Sandy Schleer was. Sandy Schleer walked out on Tommy a couple of days before production was finished. In the film, Sandy Schleer was shown helping out in the love scenes with Lisa, although that never happened. Those scenes were directed by Tommy alone and nobody else. And I don't think Sandy was at the premiere of The Room either, as far as I know. And Sandy is somebody who distanced himself from the project of The Room in real life, and 7 years later said that he directed The Room and not Tommy. So this is the part where I'm like a little, nah, come on. You didn't have to make that dude who really backed out on Tommy look like such a good guy. But that's a different story. Overall, I was also, like, at the beginning, very skeptic on how Dave Franco was going to do this whole entire thing. Like, you can see in some Twitter comments and in some Facebook comments where people are talking about Dave Franco. I'm always the one saying, I don't trust Dave Franco playing Greg Sestero. But Dave Franco, you're the man. You did such a fucking good job playing Greg Sestero in this. You made Greg Sestero feel very real. You made the audience see Tommy through the eyes of Greg Sestero, and that worked really, really well. Let's take a look at some other supporting cast members here. Zac Efron playing Chris R. Oh my god, that was amazing. If I hadn't known while walking into this film that Zac Efron is playing Chris R, I wouldn't have recognized Zac Efron at all. Like, it could have been anybody else. I have never seen Zac Efron look so intimidating. Ever. Like, that was incredible. We also have Josh Hutcherson playing Philip Handyman. I think his first name's Philip. The guy who plays Danny. He does such a good job portraying him. The dweebiness of the Danny character, it's totally in there. You totally see that. Like, all the acting in this film was absolutely amazing. Especially on the side of James Franco. James Franco nailed Tommy's character. Like everybody has said before, he's mastered the mannerisms of Tommy, the way Tommy talks. That performance is just absolutely flawless. Also, Sharon Stone was in this movie playing Iris, Greg Sestero's casting agent. I didn't recognize that was Sharon Stone at all. I was still missing the cameos of Greg Sestero personally and Bob Odenkirk. The movie is really incredible. So before I get to the things I didn't like so much about it, don't worry, those aren't that extreme. But there are a couple of things that bothered me a bit, like the Sandy Schler thing. This movie's 1 hour and 40 minutes long. It's such a great piece of entertainment as The Disaster Artist is. Could have been made longer. I could have seen this movie go on for 2 hours, if not even more. This could have easily been done in 2 hours and 20 minutes with more focus on certain aspects of the story. The movie made it look like the same crew that started taping The Room on day one left on the same day The Room got finished in production, which isn't the case at all. People were flying off of the set like they were flies on the wall. Like they were just, one day you had this guy behind the camera, the other day you had another guy behind the camera. The dude who played Peter, the psychologist friend of Johnny's in The Room, it's like he wasn't even mentioned at all. You didn't get a single scene with Michelle or the Me Underwears guy. Those characters were treated like they didn't even exist in this film, and that really bothered me because there are a lot of details in The Room that weren't even touched in The Disaster Artist, and I would have loved to see more of that. This doesn't make the movie any less good, but it could have been even better than it was. This movie still is a masterpiece, but involving these characters, putting some more detail in certain things would have made this even greater.
I remember in certain interviews, Tommy approved 99% of the film because
Football. The way he threw the football, I don't know, you saw, I don't know.
no, I think I call it bull. He said he did not like lighting in the beginning of the movie.
Greg is my
No, he said, yeah, the lighting was uneven from the first part to the second part.
What did I say about football, Greg?
So that you know.
Okay.
You don't like his form?
Tommy grew up all-American guy throwing football, and he think I don't throw it well. I don't approve about the way James Franco threw the football either. He just sort of made it out to make Tommy look ridiculous by throwing the football. I know it's funny and I know it's a caricature, but I think
think it's important for Tommy that he throws the football properly. If you look at all the times Tommy has ever thrown a football in one of his films, he does it with a certain grace, and James Franco did not capture that grace. Look at it this way. Greg is my best friend. He teach me how to throw football. James Franco did not throw football the way Greg teach me to throw football. Thinking of that with that sentiment in mind throws a different light on Tommy's statement, don't you think? I'm thinking more the adaptation of the book. And it just hit me that where the book starts off where Tommy and Greg are having dinner right before they start shooting The Room, the film starts during their acting class, so the first time that they meet. It keeps a very chronological line going on, the film, whereas in the book it likes to jump in between chapters between the filming of The Room and the way Tommy and Greg met. But the book ends right at the premiere of The Room. And this is where the film takes it a step further, where I really have to praise the film for doing that. That we get to see Tommy's reaction when he sees the crowd react for the first time to his film. And that pretty much is sort of the heart of the disaster artist, because Tommy sees what he has done and has to live with it. And there is this true beautiful moment between Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau where Greg Sestero talks to Tommy about how special his creation is, even though people are laughing at it. And I don't want to take away too much of it, because that is like maybe the heart of the film itself. But really, the ending is just absolutely beautiful in that movie. Oh, hi, doggy. What I didn't notice were how it was done camera-wise. Most of the shots you get of things happening offset of The Room were done with a hand camera. Like, it wasn't like a shaky camera or anything like that, not found footage style, but it was like, you notice that the camera was held with a hand. And when they were filming the shots of The Room itself, it was done with tripods and stuff like that. Which also brings me to how they recreated The Room, which was done very well. At the end, before the credits come, you actually have side-by-side comparisons of how The Room looked like and how the actual reenactment of The Room looked like. So that worked very well. And what else I didn't mention yesterday, they really put a big effort into making the soundtrack fit the times as well as it should, even though this was all taking place in the late 90s, like the beginnings where Tommy and Greg met. They used a lot of stuff from the early 90s, like you get some CC Penista, and you get "I'm Gonna Give You Up" song going on. You have "Good Vibrations" by Marky Mark, back then known as Marky Mark, today known as Mark Wahlberg.
What? No.
Another thing that was completely different from the book and the story is that Greg Sestero was basically forced to make The Room with Tommy. He was he originally had to play this minor part, and Tommy pretty much blackmailed him, and he was like, he even had another actor who was supposed to play Mark and fired him live on set. He'd actually do shoots for The Room where Mark was played by the other actor, where the cameras weren't rolling. And that was something that wasn't mentioned in the film at all. But other than that, everything was pretty amazing. I think now that I complain so much about it, it doesn't sound as good as it is, but it really, really, really is maybe the best film of the year. And this pretty much finishes up the review. Tomorrow And if you're just watching the short version of this, you will see me when you see me. Bye-bye.
Can we just take it again? Try to lose the accent.
The rules to the club are simple. And the guard, me forward with dog.